God is dead. Almost everybody has heard this quote at some point, but almost nobody knows it in its entirety. It points to something way more profound than just religion is outdated. It points to the idea that our sense of awe and wonder and devotion has already, or maybe always is, in the process of dying. The decay of faith. What maybe sounds like a timely statement is over 100 years old, and the way it looks, yes, God is dead, and spirituality might be next. So what do we do about it? Spirituality is a term that is hard to contain, just like God. God is different things to different people. For some, it is the one and only OG man in the sky, watching at all time, especially when you're naked, judging you until and after you die. For others, God is any or every kind of deity. Nature itself is very often described as God. Nature beyond the green, beyond Earth, everything in the universe. But spirituality is different. Spirituality is not like that. Spirituality is not like God. There is not one for each of us, and there's also not a one-size-fits-all. Spirituality is bigger and simultaneously more subtle than that. And I think it's dying. Trying to fill the void we feel, religion has helped out and held up for quite a while. In some parts of the world, it still does, and rightfully so, for one simple promise that if life keeps fucking you over, it will get better when everything is over, or at least when the next life starts. Either way, there's only one simple rule you need to follow, and that is to do as you're told. Please. And then science came along to explain life to us. And as long as we didn't understand science, it kind of had like a godlike vibe. Maybe humanity did not need gods or magic, just knowledge and education and ignorance and indifference towards everything that once was awe-inducing, wonderful, and magical. Yeah. Science. So what are we left with in an individualistic, capitalist-driven society? To our own devices, yes, but also with the capacity to declare everything as our own. A few crystals here, a little bit of incense over there, maybe a statue or two that we call Buddha or Shiva or whatever. And with the tremendous effort of upholding a coherent worldview while we construct a spiritual identity out of the sheer endless collectives out there. Wait, where did my scapegoat go? Whoopsie. I never understood and still don't understand what people mean by my spirituality. So I started asking. And to my surprise, most are actually very humble in their approach. It is just a way of saying what I believe is. And I think that's great and that's absolutely fine. But then others use their spirituality kind of as an enhancement of themselves. It becomes almost like a competition. My spirituality is right. Yours is wrong. My spirituality is better than yours. The idea here seems to be that if I believe what you believe, that somehow makes me less unique. Therefore, what I believe needs to be even wilder and weirder, and that is literally flipping the script on itself. Let me repeat that. Using spirituality as a means of egoism, of enhancing oneself, or maybe even as narcissism, that drawing a line in the sand and like isolating yourself as the chosen one, as the elite, that is flipping the script on itself. Spirituality has always been a means to foster community. And here we are now, back to square one. So what do we do now? In my experience, and really when I say my experience, I mean after talking to actual real people, not to a bunch of strangers on the internet, My conclusion is that there's no need for it. There is no need for religious dogma, outlandish mystical metaphors, dry science, or tech utopias. Even though I kind of like all of those a little bit, there's no need for it to find a sense of awe, hope, and wonder in this world. When I speak with real people, we use real language to describe what we experience and what we feel, what we believe. There's really no need for spirituality to be this super magic alien thing nobody understands and nobody can touch, reserved only for the chosen ones. And I think we also shouldn't simply dismiss it as a distraction, as unreal, an illusion, or just a fantasy. Spirituality is very real, and everyone who dares to really look into it will experience that. Note that I'm saying experience. I'm not trying to argue with you, and I'm not trying to convince you. Spirituality is not something we do. It is something we experience, and it is right there, right in front of us. If consciousness itself, if the fact that you experience anything at all, if the fact that really anything is anything, if that does not induce you with a natural sense of curiosity and wonder, or at least a brief moment of, wow, then spirituality is dying indeed. If we cannot even consider consciousness itself a spiritual experience, I do not understand what you mean by either of those two terms. Again, if we cannot consider consciousness itself a spiritual experience, I do not understand what you mean by either of those two terms. Rediscovering, exploring, sharing, and experiencing spirituality right now seems to be the only reasonable choice to remain sane in this world. For me. At least without becoming numb to everything that's actually wonderful. For me personally, meditation has become the vehicle that shows me aspects of life I would otherwise simply miss. And in that sense, I believe spirituality is not something you can just think your way through, just kind of like armchair philosophize it. Spirituality wants to be explored, and it won't explore itself. That's our responsibility. And if we don't take it on, we let it slip away, and we forget. And once we forgot, it will all be dead. And so will be the wonder and awe and anything worth holding your breath for. Get, and it will all be dead. But it doesn't need to be like that. It does not. The world is still full of awe, wonder, and magic. And who am I to tell you that it is not? At least I can say for me that spirituality and meditation have enriched my life in so many ways. And maybe that's something you'd like to explore. And maybe you'd like to explore it together. If that's the case, then I hope I see you again. And for all of those who'd like to hear the full quote from the beginning, I'd like to read it to you. So if you like, you can lean back, maybe close your eyes, or not. Listen, and just feel it out. God is dead. God remains dead, and we have killed him. How shall we comfort ourselves, the murderers of all murderers? What was holiest and mightiest of all that the world has yet owned has bled to death under our knives? Who will wipe this blood off us? What water is there for us to cleanse ourselves? What festivals of atonement? What sacred games shall we have to invent? Is not the greatness of this deed too great for us? Must we ourselves not become gods simply to appear worthy of it?